The approach to strategic planning I'm going to present to you today involves 12 steps. This is a broad overview, obviously in a short present. I think you'll all come away with a good understanding of steps entail. So if shared understanding of why we are strategic plan, we need to everyone knows why this process is necessary and what each contributor hopes to get out of the process. It's really important to set aside a half day, a full day, possibly over to really discuss, what it is you're trying to do in developing this plan. It's also really important to be honest and open about what is driving the need for the strategic. Your organization might be at a growth and you're seeing some gaps, responsibilities falling through the cracks, or tension in some of your colleagues and what it is they're trying to do, and you need to come together and redevelop that shared vision. It also might be donor driven. Sometimes donors really want to see, this clear roadmap for an organization, what it is their long range objectives are. So just being open and transparent about that motive. The planning team, who needs in developing the plan. This is going to depend of your organization. Again, if you have trustees, board of directors, however, they might not need to be engaged throughout the entire stage of the process. You're going to have a core group of folks who are really the key decision makers, the key operators, the director, the CEO, that want to be present throughout. But then you might, for example, if your organization has 3 departments or pillars, kind of directions that they work in, those individuals might be in stages of the process. Role and being transparent about the role each team member plays in the development of the strategic plan. The next step is the development of the vision. And so this is really, as a vision, it evokes an aspirational, something we are striving to move towards. It's the desired state that our organization is working towards. What is the world we want to see if we're successful in our objectives? It should be relatively general, visionary. What is the world you want to create? And simple and succinct. And I describe this as an elevator pitch, right? You've got 1 minute, maybe 30 seconds to describe what it is your organization is aspiring to achieve. So it needs to be simple and succinct. And I'm going to use an example in this presentation. This is from a real strategic plan, although I did change the name of the Nature Center to Pretendia, just for respect to the organization we work with. And so in this example, Pretendia Nature Center is recognized as an excellent place to experience and understand how nature and humans evolve together so everyone becomes a better steward of nature while preserving cultural legacy for future generations. So this is really aspirational, right? Something that the organization, they're moving towards us. This is what they hope to achieve if possible. The next step is our core focus. And so this is really, what we do and how we do it. And it is the core focus that is described as kind of the filtering mechanism for future decisions. And so to do this, we answer 3 questions. What is our purpose? Why do we exist? What is the meaning of our organization? Why are we here? What is our niche? And here I would say organizations sometimes get tripped up because, let's say, you know, many conservation organizations are working with similar species or similar ecosystems, and they say, well, you know, we work on birds. Okay, you work on birds, but what is it that distinguishes your organization from other bird organizations? What is it you do that, you know, warrants a donor giving you money versus this other bird organization, and really thinking about what is it that makes you distinct. And then the mission, which I'll speak to about more in a moment. So to give you, again, following this Pretendia Nature Center example, their purpose is to education to promote nature and culture. And so this is a very local nature reserve, and so they're very focused in this one part of Canada to promote nature and culture of this area. And their niche is, it's actually a historically important place for people crossing from one part of the country to another. And so this is really what sets them apart from other organizations. So the mission is the actual method, you know, how it is you're actually going to go about achieving your vision statement, building on the purpose and niche. But distinct from the vision statement, this is action oriented. And the mission statement should be designed as a 2x4 statement. We work to achieve results by some means or approach for some purpose or outcome. And so the example with Pretendia, they work to promote awareness and respect for Pretendia's natural and cultural heritage by providing interpretive programs and other experiences for our visitors. So these are the actions that enable them to achieve their vision. We then move on to core values. And so these are the guiding principles that really attract people to your organization and ideally repel the wrong people from your organization. And so they're often quite personal. They are, again, really designed to create a cadre, a cohort, a group of people who feel bonded together and share these core values. And they're also quite useful in thinking about how you want to hire or evaluate your staff. You know, are the core values being emulated and practiced in a meaningful way? A best practice is to identify three to five kind of core values. So this is a list. It's certainly not exhaustive. Sometimes clients like a little bit of a push, and so something that we provide for them to kind of brainstorm ideas of what core values might look like for their organization. And in the Pretendia example, they came up with 4: welcoming, well-informed, collaborative, and environmentally responsible. And note as well, they include a little bit more information about what these core values mean: welcoming, enthusiastically greet visitors, to explore all the center has to offer. Strategic priorities. These are the actions, right? The strategies that are going to help us to move towards our vision. Where the boots hit the ground. And so these are all the activities.
abanyeshuri Beth yarambwiye ngo nibwira abanyeshuri ba masters na bachelors bazajyeyo bashoboka ko bendaga kunyica kuko twiza conservation y'ibintu tuzanye mu bibiki. Ariko arezi ko atansumba
is incorporating indigenous
atari Apollinaire ntuza aroyizi ntuza aroyizi nawe
into, and this I suspect is familiar, participated. Street
yaje hano
is really where we're developing these will be
kazaze banoza bepfira abayedimo na ba
within typically a
wa
10
mugabo ninde na Philippe bazamukurikirana
we're looking into the
oya Philippe se so
and
we
trying
mu
to
mafi
decide, you know, what is it, where do we want our
yaje
organization to be at that 10-year time part.
eh
So they should reflect your, but also your business
arimo
outcomes, right?
hariya
You want your organization,
muri arimo
if
refe
you're a nonprofit or
hari
even
umuntu
if you're
wapresentinze
a
ku
private
bya aquatic n'ibintu
organization, right?
by'amafi
You need
sinzi
to
uwo
pay
ari
attention to your financial objectives as well. Be big, bold, and ambitious. Always an interesting interplay. Working with an
amafi nabonye nta n'abantu benshi afitemo nagerageza
really pushing, and then the others verse, and they often, if you don't, the person, you need to push that a little bit for the group to be more, or vice versa. And my conservation standard shop, the SMART goal will be familiar to you. They should be specific, measurable, achievable, results oriented, and time. We're crystal clear what it is we're trying to do. Say, I'll make these slides available to folks afterwards too. So this is just an expansion of what we mean by having setting us. For example, they set 3 goals. By 2032, the nature center's 1,000 visitors on an annual, 60% of participating really and of education to their as more to ability, right? What they need as an organization to remain a need. And then the last do with independence. They want to be producing their own electricity. So we're going to shift slightly for a moment away from long-term goals and to team accountability. And it's really critical to think about the structure of the organization, not as it is. This is not an exercise of recreating, you know, how is our team currently functioning, but rather drafting a vision of how it would ideally function. How would our organization optimally be structured to enable us to achieve our long-range goals? And in developing this, you want to kind of position, do not include names at this point. You want to really, again, it's not how it currently is, the optimal structure, how ideally it should be. Draft each position. Once those positions are made, defining the roles or functions of each of those positions. And then adding people part. Now, some of you may be wondering what this indicates redundant, or oftentimes what it reveals is opportunity, right? It gets the organization where we need more people, but it can redundancy, and why use the current, which is the initially, do not attach names, and really trying to identify what it is, right, as an organization we're striving to achieve first. And I should say as well, it's pretty rare that, and in fact, I don't believe that we have ever identified a position, an organization that had too many people working for it. It's often too few people working for it, identifying areas where they need growth. So this is an example. This is totally fabricated, doesn't have anything to do with the Pretendia example. But I wanted to show you kind of what an accountability chart looks like, and a key practice is that no individual person should be accountable for more than 7 people. So if, for example, you have one person who's accountable for 25 people, that's probably not gonna work very well. And so that's something to avoid. So now we're gonna boil down. So from those long-range goals, we're gonna move to a 3-year plan, to a 1-year plan, to what we need to achieve this quarter, these in the next kind of 90 days. So the 3-year plan is really, where we begin to boil down what it is we need to achieve in the next 3 years in order to reach our long range, our 10-year objectives. And 3 years, I know some organizations go for 5. 3 years is considered, from the business and strategic planning perspective, the sweet spot. So a little shorter than 5. Similarly, these should be, you should identify quantitative and qualitative measurables that are smart to enable you to know, right, are we moving towards our long-range goals? 1-year plan. 1 year, from that 3 now to a 1-year time frame. They should be smart. What it is you're trying to accomplish in that time, you want to have kind of goals, should be affiliated with a budget. Example of this, so at Pretendia Nature Center, first goal, 2, they want 100,000 visitors, 60% of those participating in programs. So they said, okay, well, at 3 years, we want to have 90,000 visitors, and 28% of those are going to, or 25,000 of those are participating in program, 28% of the total visitors. So those are their measurables. And then also really exploring, right, what it is that is going to enable them to achieve those measurables. And one thing they came up with is a food strategy service, so that people have something to eat or drink when they reserve. And so this would be developed and fully implemented by the 3-year mark. In contrast, their 1-year goals, measurables, were 80,000 annual visitors, 19% of which are going to be participating in programs. And they want to have this food service strategy developed at the end of their 1 year, but only partially implemented, so not fully operational. Maybe they're testing it out a bit. And so there was much more to this, but this just gives you a snapshot of what this process looks like. So from right priorities. So what is it we need to do in the next 90 days in order to move towards that 1 year, 3 year, and 10-year goal? You probably have said, oh, they should be 7 or. And at this stage, we're actually names duals to those qualities, so that whoever is attached, right, doing every priority process. They are nudging folks, delegating, ensuring that priority into the quarter. So in the, you can see here a few things, and a description is they want to achieve that. So, right, so Sarah, not necessarily build the welcome, ensure that is not help to process. Undoubtedly, you're identifying issues, and not you're going to be able to in there. And so keep it kind of issues and constraints as you assess. So being on some of them, visiting them at intervals, maybe the time, something in order to issue or constraint, or maybe and you simply can't address it until last but not plan. And so here a really quantify, qualify, you're measuring, move towards your goals. And affiliated with a goal, you're going to be using an indicator, describing an assessment method, assigning a person that assessment, the occurrence of that assessment. So Pretendia, affiliated with their, have 2 visitors, or the number of those visitors actually programs, and they vary these counters to measure hers. Do this on an annual basis. It's possible for this, and then they have this comment they on what they in a program, and so goal a team identifies. One this process, a really critical component plan is regular revisitation, minimally on a quarterly basis. And so bringing out this document every 90 days, reviewing those quarterly priorities, reviewing that monitoring plan, looking at where your indicators are falling, and then updating to the next quarter and moving towards your long range goal, which will then be evolving. Your one range will change as you, for each quarter, you might update your long range, your 1 year plans respectively. But critically, if your team is not revisiting this, again, minimally every 90 days, it becomes one of those exercises and is not a terribly efficient and meaningful process for the organization. So I hope that was helpful for folks. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and am happy to take any questions or comments.
Thanks so much, Nicole. That was really great. And I think people should have some questions, or people can feel free to put a comment or a question in the chat or hand and unmute Nicole. Everyone, questions or comments?
People warm up, just ask action. You have participated in a strategic plan process before. Can you give me a thumbs up? I find it hard. Okay, good. 2 people, 3 people, 4. Okay, 5 people. Okay, second question. If you participated in a strategic plan before, was it a living to regularly revisit it at quarterly intervals? Awesome. One thumbs up from Catherine. But no others. Okay. Yeah, no, that's helpful. And yeah, just I the follow-up to that, disappointing for you, like that did you put into process, as like to have been done differently. So I thought I saw somebody raise their hand, but maybe they didn't. So even nobody has a question, maybe I can just ask. Hillary has a comment here. Timely reminder that modernity should be frequent tendency to assume amongst a team they are all moving in the same direction. Yeah, exactly, Hillary. And I mean, right, we might, in fact, even going through this process, you might come back together at the end of a quarter and realize you haven't quite nailed it, that the purpose, folks are still moving in slightly different directions. And so that is, right, the role of these regular interval meetings to ensure that you are moving in the same direction. Where does the theory of change fit in? Tarsis, what are you referring to? I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I think, of course, to establish a strategy, it has a relationship to solve some problems and advance the organization. So currently, some organizations are focusing on material change, and that is part of the strategy. So I'm trying to figure out where
you could put that
12 steps you can fit in this.
Yeah. I mean, so that's an interesting question. I mean, I guess. So my use of the theory of change is more within the context of the conservation standards, but you're absolutely right. Within the development of a strategy, right, we want to explore, what are our assumptions? What are we assuming this proposed strategy is going to result in? I think strategic planning, organizational planning, the theory of change is more implicit, less explicit. But I think the exercise, there's no reason you could, as an organization, I'm just looking at my deck. So, like, for example, think about share again. So if we think about the measurables, so I guess, so the strategy, right, would be this food service strategy, right? That their assumption, so perhaps, really kind of having it's really just developed through conversation, not an explicit, more, it's more looking at ending. intensity of that process is not usually in a though there's no reason, I guess would be what I would say. Yeah, and what does Beth say? Hmm? I think, right, that this is true too within a strategic plan. Is the action we're doing actually going to result in that change, desired outcome? Possibly not. Thanks for that, Tarsis. So Catherine, if I might put you on the spot, because you were the only one who your strategic plan was, if you might share your engage with your strategic.
Everybody, see some of you again. Yeah, I mean, referring more to a program of organization, making sure that there's a strategic plan network is really useful. I guess we're quite early in our there's at the moment, so having document is really.
Thank you. Folks after slide with Bina and can for your that's conservation, not organizations, but but this is who is with, but strategic plans need to be a living document in order to really enable better conservation outcomes and more efficient as well. So something hopefully we can all.
Great, thank you, Cole. Thanks so much, and thanks everybody for joining. And you ended early, so Hillary was saying short time, but we still have plenty of time. But I really appreciate people coming, and I know it's something that a lot of us think a lot about, so I hope we stay in touch about this. And come back next week. I know talk planned for next week, so have a webinars. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.